Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into a really big shift in India's drug control policy, the brand new NDPS amendment rules for 2025. Now, if you're anywhere near the pharmaceutical or chemical import-export business, you're gonna wanna pay close attention. These changes will directly impact how you operate. So, let's jump right in. So, what's the big deal here? Well, as of December 10th, 2025, the Ministry of Finance has basically hit the refresh button on the entire rulebook. And we're not talking about a few small tweaks. These reforms are all about building a digital fortress around the import and export process, making the whole system way tighter and a lot more secure. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the new forms and rules, let's take a step back and ask why. These changes didn't just appear out of thin air. There are some really clear strategic goals behind this whole overhaul. Let's take a look at what the government is trying to do. So it really boils down to these three key pillars. First, they want to strengthen compliance and accountability, basically closing any and all loopholes. Second, they're massively enhancing traceability, creating a solid digital paper trail for every single thing that moves. And finally, it's about aligning our domestic rules with international standards, which makes trade smoother and more secure for everyone. It's a three-pronged attack on ambiguity. All right, let's kick things off with the importers, because they're facing some of the biggest changes. The document you need to have on your radar is Form 4A. That's the application for an import certificate. And let me tell you, it's a whole new ballgame. Seriously, just forget everything you knew about the old Form 4A. This new version is a completely different beast. It is way more detailed, and it's designed to capture a ton of information right from the get-go. And look, this isn't just about creating more paperwork. It's about collecting crucial data up front so the oversight can be smarter and much more effective. So, what kind of new data are we talking about? Well, the form now requires specific universal codes. You've got the HSN code for classifying goods for trade, the importer's GSTN, and the CAS number, which you can think of it like a unique digital fingerprint for every chemical substance. The big takeaway here is simple. Precision is the new normal. They are literally engineering ambiguity out of the system. And getting that certificate? That's just step one. Now, it comes with some pretty strict strings attached. There's a ticking clock on your import window. You have to name the exact port of entry beforehand, and you're automatically bound by a whole set of security and accounting rules. This really locks the entire process down, from the moment of approval to the moment of arrival. And let's just focus on that number for a second. 180 days. That is your new non-negotiable time limit to get an import done once that certificate is issued. This deadline is specifically designed to stop old permits from just floating around in the system. It forces every transaction to be timely and, more importantly, trackable. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the rules you have to follow depend entirely on why you're importing the substance in the first place. If it's for making products you're going to export, there's a strict no domestic sale rule and tons of reporting. But if it's for analytical or research purposes, you have to account for every single milligram you use. It's two totally separate paths, each with its own very specific compliance checklist. So what happens to any leftovers? Yep, there's a new rule for that too. Any unused material, especially potent stuff like morphine or codeine, can't just be tossed out or stored indefinitely. It must be handed over to the Government Opium and Alkaloid Works with a full accounting trail. This creates what's essentially a closed-loop system, giving them cradle-to-grave control over these substances. Okay, so we've covered the importers, but what about the folks sending this stuff out of the country? Let's flip the coin and look at the new rules for exporters. As you're about to see, the same themes of detail and alignment apply here, especially when it comes to the updated Form 5. And yet, this probably looks pretty familiar, right? The information required from exporters now perfectly mirrors what's being asked of importers. We're talking HSN codes, CAS numbers, GSTN, the whole shebang. This is all about creating data symmetry, so authorities can match an export leaving India with an import certificate in another country, which is a huge leap forward for international traceability. All right, so we've been deep in the weeds of Form 4A and Form 5. Let's zoom out now and connect the dots. What's the big picture? What does all of this actually mean for anyone who has to operate in this space? This quote from the source material really just nails it. The entire force of this amendment is channeled through these two updated forms. The goal isn't just more paperwork, it's about using that data to build a fundamentally stronger and more accountable system from the ground up. So let's boil it all down. If you're a stakeholder, here's what you absolutely need to remember. First, meticulous record keeping is no longer optional. It's the price of entry. Second, those deadlines, like the 180-day rule, are ironclad. Third, your compliance journey is now totally dictated by your product's end use. And finally, this is India getting in lockstep with global standards, a massive step for international trade. And all of this leads us to the biggest question of all. The goal is clearly to tighten the net and crack down on any illicit activity. But the real challenge will be doing that without accidentally choking off access for legitimate medical research and patient care. It's an incredibly delicate balancing act, and the true success of these reforms is going to depend on whether they can get that balance just right. We'll have to wait and see.